Hello, Tansei. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to APTN InFocus. I'm Daryl Stranger. Today, we're going to be taking a look at Indigenous personalities and content creators on social media, primarily TikTok. With so many great Indigenous creators and people on social media platforms these days, we're putting those creators in focus. Now, as always, we would love if you joined in on our conversation. You can tweet us at APTN InFocus, or you can send us an email at infocus@aptn.ca. Now, before I introduce you to our fantastic guests today, here's a little something from one of our guests.
It's been a tradition for a very long time. The reason why is because the baby feels safe and secure, and it makes them feel like they're in the womb again. I'm gonna make some bannock. Preheat your oven to 400. You need baking powder, lard, and flour. You need a bowl, measuring cup, and a tablespoon. Putting flour on the surface so it doesn't stick while kneading and putting on a greased pan, and it should look like this. And trust me, it tastes really good, especially when it's fresh out of the oven.
Not everyone gets to pass peacefully. Red is a representation for those who are troubled in the spirit world, finding their way back, so we can lay them to rest peacefully.
Now, our first guest you may be familiar with. Influencer Michelle Chubb is a Swampy Cree from Bunabonabee Cree Nation in northern Manitoba. Her videos have amassed over 23 million likes on TikTok, with a variety of different video styles and different video personalities as well. And she joins me now. Michelle, thanks so much for joining us here in studio on APTN InFocus. So we're talking about all things TikTok and social media and that sort of thing. So I guess my first question is, how did you sort of start, or what sort of prompted you to start doing some social media stuff?
Well, back in 2020, that's when I first started in January. Before that, I was just watching TikToks. I was a viewer. I was just watching other TikToks, and then I realized there wasn't many Indigenous creators out there that was amplifying Indigenous problems around the world. So I wanted to take that into my own hands and amplify the Indigenous problems we have, and to have people know about Indigenous people.
So did it start as like a pandemic thing, like because of the pandemic? You're like, you know what, I'm going to start doing this. I have lots of time, you know, like let's just get some of these different voices and opinions out there and feature some of, you know, my culture and other people's culture.
Not really, because I started TikTok before the pandemic.
Okay.
So then I was working with my dad, and then TikTok was kind of like a fun thing for me, so I kind of turned it into a hustle. So I then quit my job with my dad and started making TikToks full time. Okay. And then that's when I started to blow up with all the information I put out there with my TikToks.
Well, just on that note, I mean, you have hundreds of thousands of followers on both Instagram and TikTok. Like, was there a certain like night maybe that you blew up, or was it just sort of over time that you just started gaining all these followers?
I think there was this one video where it was one of my first videos I've made. It was the one that really blew off for me, and then it brought people to my profile, and that's when I started getting more followers. So I made more content about Indigenous people. So.
So what do you think draws in so many followers? Like, why do you think these hundreds of thousands of people care about what you're posting?
Oh yeah, I think it's because it's different in the world. Not many people know of Indigenous people, so of course they're going to be drawn to something they don't know. Mm-hmm. So they will want to learn more about Indigenous people and what we do.
And just with your content, is that sort of what people can expect? Like, if they don't follow you, or if they, you know, if they don't know about your content, like, can you sort of describe what your content is?
Oh, well, basically my content is well, mainly Indigenous, right? Because I'm an Indigenous person. I want to amplify Indigenous businesses, amplify Indigenous people, icons. I want to be able to put a light on the problems that we have as Indigenous people, the problems that we face, like MMIW 2S, the Clean Water Advisory. There's like so many on the list that I can like just name right now, but like it would take too long. But like, yeah, that's basically, ever since I was young, I wanted to have people know about us.
And is that some of the messaging as well, I guess, that you're trying to get out with your videos is, hey, there are some of these problems and here's my voice, and trying to amplify some of those messages?
Yeah, basically. I want, also encouraging other Indigenous youth to come out and out of their shell and be themselves.
And were you like a shy person growing up? Like, is this sort of the TikTok sort of help you come out of your own shell?
Yeah, that's so funny when you ask me that, because I was super shy. Like, I don't know if you met other natives growing up in high school and they're like super shy in a white community. I was like one of them. And I don't know, I was always pushed into my shell growing up with other people challenging me. So TikTok kind of helped me open up more and embrace what I always wanted to show others.
And kind of on that same note, I mean, why is it so important that we have Indigenous voices on TikTok and all these social media platforms? Why is that so important?
Because of the next generation.
And just with that, I mean, you were touching on how you were shy. I mean, being Indigenous, I was shy myself, and now we're here talking on camera and stuff. So it's just funny you were saying that. Yeah, exactly. But you feature your daughter a lot as well in some of your videos. So I'm wondering, how does it maybe impact some other young moms and young Indigenous moms out there to see some of your stuff? And I know you do some traditional videos with your daughter as well, right?
Yeah, it's very special to my heart, because I know a lot of Indigenous women out there have challenges for being mothers. So I want to make sure they have strength as well. So when they see my content, they're like, oh, I'm not the only one going through this, or like, I'm not the only one who feels like this. So.
And in the time that you've been doing social media, do you have a favorite like video you've done, or like favorite anything that you've done in the past few years?
Man, there's like so many. There's like so many on my portfolio now that I can name a bunch. There's like a handful that I have. There's like the Sephora campaign that was like shocking to me. There's also that somersault campaign where I got to go to New York and model. That was my first time going to New York. So there's experiences like that that make me honor and be proud of what I do.
And do you have any projects coming up or any collaborations that you're able to share with us maybe that's coming up in the future?
I do have one in February. I'm in the writing process of it. I think I can say it, but I'm not sure, but I'm just going to keep it
Okay,
at
we
that,
can leave it there that you've got something special coming up in the near future. And before we let you go, social media is not the greatest place at times. It can be quite negative as well. So I'm just curious, how do you sort of deal with some of the negativity if you do come across any?
Dude, I get hate like every day. It's an everyday thing when you're a content creator, especially when the numbers get higher. It's especially the trolls, like the ones that will say like, go back to the reserve, or like, why are you using TikTok? It's mostly those ones, or like also the trauma within the community, Indigenous people bringing down others. There's also that I have to push away, but you also have to think like residential school and not others will have the same thinking that like you do, so you're gonna have to wait and see if they will hop on the train with you,
Yeah.
But all you have to do is spread your message out there and hope for the best.
I mean, a lot of young Indigenous women look up to you, and girls, and just Indigenous people in general. So what's that mean to you to have that support and people looking up to you?
It means a lot to me because, man, it's going to get so emotional. I'm trying not to get emotional.
That's all right. We're all about emotion. Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah. You know, growing up,
It obviously means a lot to you to have these people that look up to you, right?
yeah. Because growing up, I needed that figure in my life. I was so alone growing up. Like, I was isolated from my community. Like, I grew up in the city away from my own people. And it's kind of hard to, stay in the culture because you're kind of away from it. And to have these people look up to me, it's like, I have tears.
Yeah, it means a lot to you for sure, and I know
sure.
it means a lot to other people to have you sort of, they might not know you, but they sort of know you through online, right? So it means a lot to them as well.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great way to maybe wrap up our short discussion here. I think that's a great way to end it. So Michelle, I want to say thank you, miigwech, to you for sharing some of what you do and how you do it, and just sort of your insight into everything. So I want to say thank you, miigwech.
Yeah, can ask about them.
All right, we have to step aside for a short break, but still ahead, more Indigenous social media talk.
Join our conversation now. Like us on Facebook on our APTN News page, follow or tweet us at APTN InFocus, and send your thoughts to infocus@aptn.ca.
Welcome back to APTN in Focus. Today we are looking at Indigenous social media personalities and the importance of having Indigenous creators on social media platforms. And joining us live in studio is Sarah Simpson Yellowquill and Julia Davis. Sarah co-manages the TikTok Accelerator Program for Indigenous creators by the National Screen Institute. And Julia, you're part of the program, right? Is that so? Thank you both so much for coming in and joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
So, Sarah, we'll start with you. Can you just sort of tell us what the Indigenous Creators Program or Indigenous TikTok Creators Program is?
For sure. This program we started last year as a pilot in partnership with TikTok Canada, and it was so successful last year that we ran it again this year. And essentially, it's an online program that we designed to teach and to provide tools and just shared experiences from other content creators on the TikTok platform to specifically, teach Indigenous content creators who are wanting to expand their career and horizon within the TikTok app or other social media apps as well.
So why did you guys see a need for this in the first place?
I think it's more so people came to us showing us that there was a need for it. So the National Screen Institute already does other Indigenous programming, which I'm lucky to be involved with. And I was brought in halfway last year for this TikTok program, and we had a high number of applications that came through. And while I can't share the exact number, this year we tripled from last year. So again, that need is just there from the amazing creators across Canada.
Well, and Julia, so you're part of this program. So how did you get involved in all of this?
Yeah, so I had some content creators that I was following that had done it last year, and it was recommended that I apply since I had started I was posting for about a year before I applied, and so I applied in August and found out that I got in November.
So, I mean, how's it been since you got in? I mean, just what's the whole experience like for you?
It was amazing. Just to have that community of other Indigenous creators has been very inspiring, and it's made me want to start posting more and to just uplift the other voices. It's been great.
And Sarah, so how do people get involved in it? So they apply, and then it's based off of some of their previous work, and that's how they get in? Is that?
Yeah, so the call for applications, we usually list out all the eligible criteria in there, and primarily it's 18 plus Indigenous folks who live in Canada. We don't really look too much into like the following count or anything like that. It's more of like as long as you're continuing to create and post videos. And then it's gone to a jury, which is a combination of either other TikTok influencers, other film media, or other sponsors within the film industry that kind of review all the applications. And then we kind of make a short list, and from there we choose our top 40.
Well, that's very interesting. Maybe I'll have to start posting, and maybe I can get in there.
Yeah.
So, Julia, can you tell us a little bit about your content and what you try to bring with your platform?
Sure. Well, at first I was just kind of posting for fun, just things I was interested in. But I really started kind of my content creator journey when I started posting some of my original music. I have this goal to write an Inuit musical. So the first video that kind of blew up, I guess, was a song from that called A Path I Used to Know. And from there I just started posting more, and then more videos about my Inuit culture.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll kind of open this up to the both of you, and it might seem like a loaded question. Maybe we can simplify it, but I guess what does it take to be successful on social media? And I mean, there's a need for the program, and there's a need for more Indigenous voices on these platforms. So what do you guys think it takes to be successful on these platforms?
Well, I think that it's always important to post authentically, and people really just want to see you at the end of the day, and the things that are important to you, and the things that you are excited to share. So for me, at least, that's what I try and focus on when I post.
And Sarah, just maybe from your perspective, I mean, what do you think it takes to be successful?
Yeah, I think keeping true to yourself and creating the content you want to create, and not going out of your way to do what maybe your viewers want. And I think we heard that from a lot of guests within the program too. They spoke to how they want to create what they want to create, and again, just sharing a piece of themselves and building up that community and finding those who share similar interests.
And do you guys think there's a need for, I mean, obviously with the program, it shows that more people want to be involved, Indigenous people on social media, but is there maybe also a need to have that other side of the equation, if you want to call it like that? But is there a need for more Indigenous voices like on these platforms? Always,
yeah, totally. And there's so much room and space for all of us to be taking up and to be sharing whatever experiences. A lot of our participants have a different range of what kind of content they make. We have musicians, we have comedians, we have gamers, we have designers, people who share language or different history stories as well.
And what kind of content usually garners the most interest? I don't know if there is any one specific genre, but maybe since you guys have done the program, or Julia, like have you noticed some of your stuff is maybe garnering more attention than other things? I'm just curious, like sort of what's hot right now, I guess, is maybe the question.
I found people have really liked when I share the stories from my life, or maybe like where I come from or my family. I'm writing the musical about the legend of the Northern Lights, and so when I share those stories, that was always kind of garner interest a little bit. Yeah.
And Sarah, like from your perspective
yeah,
as well?
I mean, I think trends, and especially like media, is always changing and forever changing and evolving. And it's kind of, again, just finding the people who do share the same interests as you, that kind of, you build up your following that way, and they want to see more content or just support you in that. So it's kind of, yeah, just finding, again, what you prefer to create. And of course, there is like the analytics if you want to start following and see how you can probably, present yourself more predominantly, I guess, within the industry. But again, too, yeah, it's kind of up to each individual. And again, everything's always changing. So kind of whatever someone might be interested in, you don't really know. And again, too, anyone can go viral like within overnight, and you didn't even know.
Sure. And social media is not the most positive place at times, right? It can be actually quite negative, and there's been so many stories of negativity and trolls, if you want to call it that. So is that something the program sort of takes a look at as well, and maybe how to deal with that?
Yeah, so the program most definitely, we try to cover some, background within the app, how to use it, and then we have other presenters who share their own personal experiences. And then we also did do a session where someone came in to share about, essentially like bullies online and how to keep your mental health, safe, and making sure that you're safe online and just creating a safe space for everyone. And of course, too, it's always going to be there. So kind of just how to navigate that in a positive way, we try to touch on.
And Julie, I mean, you're a content creator, and I'm sure you've had some negativity a little bit here and there. How do you deal with that?
I think that when those comments do come in, they're not as common as all the supportive ones. But when they do come in, they do hit hard sometimes. But I think I just have to remember why I'm doing what I'm doing, and the reason that I want to post my songs and these things from my life, and I just have to remember why I'm doing it.
And do you have any maybe advice for any other people who are thinking of starting a TikTok, or maybe they have a TikTok and they're like, oh, maybe I want to apply to this program? Or what sort of advice do you have for somebody who's maybe looking at trying to do this a little bit more?
Totally. Apply. I think that I had such a good experience, and I feel like I'm a part of this amazing community now of Indigenous creators. In terms of advice, I'd say we kind of touched on this before, but just stay authentic to yourself. Always protect yourself, your heart, your mental health, because it can be a very intense space sometimes on TikTok. So just protect yourself, stay true to who you are. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know.
And Sarah, with the program, is this something that's going to be continued and made like an annual thing? Is that being talked about at all?
At this time, we don't have confirmation if and when the program will run next year. I think we're kind of looking at the data of all the applications we did get in, so we do see that need, and we'll kind of review that to see if and when we can do the application. And I just suggest following the National Screen Institute on social media, because we usually list all of our calls for applications there.
So everything is based sort of on who's applying? Is that kind of what it, like the numbers of people?
Yeah, a combination of that. And then, I think too, this is our second year in partnership with TikTok Canada, and it's been going really well. So I'm hoping we'll be able to move forward for many more years.
And just for me, I'm curious, like for the both of you, do you have Julie, do you have a certain video that you've posted that is your favorite? And Sarah, is there in the program, is there one creator that maybe you've liked a lot, or their video you've liked? Not to put you on the spot for singling somebody out, but maybe we'll start with Julie, if you have a favorite video you've done so far.
Oh, gosh. I did really like posting the first song, A Path I Used to Know. I posted the first part, and it was just fun to finally get this song that was so important to me out there, and I got really good reception on it, and that was my favorite one.
That's always good to hear, especially when it's something that's so personal to you,
yes.
right? And Sarah, I mean, since you've been in the programs, or
yeah, I mean, I will admit, running the TikTok Accelerator program, I do spend a lot of time on TikTok scrolling and watching all the applicants who did submit, which is a pretty huge number. So I can't say I have one favorite one, because there's so many great talent out there, but I will just mention I did enjoy watching the participants create videos throughout the program, especially when they just shared experiences and just saying, oh, I'm so thankful for this program, and I'm so glad that they were able to have that opportunity. So by seeing those just made me tear up and emotional, and just remind me that the work I'm doing is good and needed.
Well, it certainly is good and needed, and the stuff that you both do on and off the screen is certainly appreciated by many, many people. I think we're going to have to leave our conversation there, but I want to say a big thank you, Miigwech, to the both of you for coming in, and really appreciate you guys just sharing your insight and some of your knowledge into everything that goes into the program, and hopefully we could see it again next year. And Julia, best of luck with all your work as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, guys. And our next guest joining us now is Marika Sila. She is an Inuvialuit actress, stunt performer, influencer, and she's also an Indigenous rights activist. She is also the owner of Red Path Talent, which is an emerging Indigenous talent agency and production company. And I spoke with her previously.
It was brought to you by the Creator, the one Creator. Some people call him God, some people call him Buddha, some people call him Allah, some people call him other names. We call him by the Creator, grandfather.
wiser, they're stronger, but more than just survivors. Tradition, dreams that I've been chasing, ambition, breaking my own way. Yeah. My hope, my strength, my people. My heart goes out to the land.
Marika, thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure to have you on InFocus. So I just want to start off, you're an actress, a stunt performer, an influencer, an activist. I mean, is there anything you don't do? But, I mean, how did you get started in, I guess, all of it, but maybe just in each one, and did each one lead into another role, maybe?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to start by saying thank you so much for having me. It's truly an honor to be here. With acting, I have always wanted to be an actress ever since I was probably 5 years old and obsessed with Miss Congeniality. I probably watched that movie like 100 times, and still obsessed with Sandra Bullock. So that's how it started, and with stunts and special skills and stuff, that just came with the dance experience that I had through hoop dancing. And I just got curious about what else could I do, and how can this lead into my acting career. I'm always looking for avenues and ways to be a better actress and to be a better performer in general. So I just thought it would be amazing to be able to do stunts and special skills on top of the acting.
Well, it certainly is amazing. I mean, I don't know how you're able to do all of that. Just one is super interesting. But so here today we're talking and putting TikTok and social media and all of this in focus. So I wanted to ask you, why is it important to bring an Indigenous perspective to all of those platforms?
I think it's so important that we're a part of every conversation, whether it's about Indigenous matters or non-Indigenous matters. I think it's important that we have a voice in everything this country does, and in everything in general.
And you have almost 400,000 followers on TikTok, and I think it's over 500,000 across all social media. I mean, that's a lot of people. What does that mean to you to have that many people interested in what you're doing and what you have to say?
It means so much to me, and it feels surreal sometimes. I remember when I was first starting to grow my Instagram account, and I just thought, if I have 20,000 followers, then like my life will be complete. And I can't say that my life feels complete. I mean, everybody has their own things, but it's really nice to know that many people support me and my vision. It's been an amazing adventure trying to grow my social media, and I've always wanted a platform to be able to speak about important Indigenous rights issues, and social media is exactly that, and it's such a blessing.
So I'm really curious, like, was there a time you realized you were getting, really popular? Like, was there a huge boost in followers one day or overnight or something, or was it just more like a gradual sort of increase?
I think for a lot of influencers, it kind of happens overnight, but for me, it's been pretty steady, and yeah, it hasn't been like a huge boost overnight. I've had days where it's been better than others, of course. But yeah, it's, and periods. Like I would say about 1.5 years ago, I was gaining followers quite quickly when I was using my voice to speak out about Indigenous rights issues. And yeah, it's great. I mean, I love what I do, and it's brought a lot of freedom into my life.
And just on, you speaking on some of these Indigenous rights issues, what sort of messages do you hope people take away when you speak out, or just from any of your posts in general?
Well, I had this realization a couple of years ago. I'm big into meditation and self-help and just health and wellness in general. And I was meditating this one day, and I realized that I believe that racism is a lack of compassion. And I believe that racism dies in the face of compassion. And I think that when we educate about important Indigenous rights issues, it helps build compassion amongst our nation. And I think it's an important step to to get rid of racism.
And Marika, how do you deal with, you know, being on social media and having such a big following? I mean, not everything on there is super positive all the time. In fact, most of the time it seems like it's negative. So I just wanted to ask, like, how do you deal with that, and how do you sort of overcome some of those negative, or the negativity, really?
Well, I think that there's a positive and a negative side to anything. Early on, when I was really young, I dealt with a lot of bullying here in my hometown. And little did the bullies know is that they were prepping me to be the influencer that I am today. And it helped me build a lot of strength at an early age to know that people are always going to talk, and you might as well give them something good to talk about.
Well, and speaking of giving them something good to talk about, are there any videos on your TikTok account that stand out to you, or had the most reaction, or anything across your social media that maybe stands out to you?
It's interesting because most of my followers think it's actually the stunts and the special skills and the hoop dancing that gets the most attention. But what I think is great is the videos that do the best are actually about Indigenous rights issues.
And what are your plans for the future right now? What are you currently working on? Are you still working on your documentary? I remember you were working on a documentary. Is that still going on?
Yeah, so that's taken some time. I actually had to take a step back from it for a little bit because talking about it so much brought a lot up for myself, and it actually made me realize how much the residential school has affected me personally. My dad is a 13-year residential school survivor, and I, at the beginning of starting to produce this documentary, I had many producers telling me that I should make it as personal as I can, and that really that pressured me to make it more personal than I think I was ready for. And I had to take a step back from it for a little bit to do my own healing so that I'm able to take on something this size. And I'm really, really happy to be in that place finally and to be able to carry it forward. And so we just got a grant and we're script writing. We're starting that process. December 5th, I'll be in LA with the script writers. So I'm really excited about that. Excited to get it off my chest because it's been something that's been on my mind. And one thing that I realized through traveling so much is you can't run from your purpose. It's always going to be knocking at the door, and I want to take this on, and I want to do it the best that I possibly can, and I finally feel ready for that.
So what made you want to do this documentary, and can you share a little bit about what this is going to be about for our audience?
Yeah, so this documentary came from an idea that I had to make, just to do a small 5-minute video about what next and what can we do to move forward in a good way as a nation. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that this is a bigger question. It's a question that needs to be answered by the community. And so the documentary is based on what's next. What do we need to do as a nation to move forward in a good way? And so the premise is what's next on Canada's Red Path to Reconciliation. So Red Path is my company. We do youth empowerment programs and camps all across Canada. I named Red Path because of the Indigenous phrase, walking the red road, known as walking a path dedicated to sobriety, health, and wellness, and doing things in a good way. So that's what's really, really important for this documentary. And the first documentary we're doing under the Red Path name is to do this in a good way and to get as many Indigenous voices heard as possible.
Oh, that all sounds super awesome, Marika. And before we let you go, I wanted to ask, do you have any advice for people wanting to follow in your footsteps or get into acting or maybe stunt performing or anything like that? Do you have any advice?
Well, just like I said, people are always going to talk, so you might as well give them something good to talk about. One thing that I notice come up a lot for people that are wanting to step into the spotlight is fear of what people think. And you just got to do you. And the more you share yourself and the more you share your heart, I find the more comes back to me in life in general. And I think it's so important to share who you truly are. And if you're inspired to do that, then just do it and just get out there and don't quit, because it's easy to do something for 1 or 2 weeks, but to stick with something is true discipline. And that's what it takes to be the best at anything. And I'm not saying that I'm the best at anything, but to be to be in the conversation and to be doing the things that you want to do, you have to stick with it no matter what it is, whether it's a sport or whether it's acting. You just have to stick with it, and you're going to have down days, you're going to have disappointments, but what it takes is really sticking with something through it all.
Marika, those are great words. I think that's a great way to end our interview with you. So I want to say a big thank you, Miigwech, for coming on APTN InFocus and sharing a bit of what you do and your wisdom and knowledge. And we certainly wish you the best of luck in the future.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It's truly been an honor.
All right, let's go to our own social media guru, social media editor Jesse Andrushko, to hear what some of you are saying about today's topic.
Thanks, Daryl. We asked our audience who their favorite TikToker is. We got a lot of responses, including popular creators like Karen Potts and Sherry McKay, but I wanted to focus on some potentially lesser-known TikTokers. I went through your comments and grabbed some fun videos. Let's take a look. First, from Candace, she said her favorite creator was Crystal Harrison Collin and her granddaughter. Here's one of Crystal teaching old-style jingle dress dancing. Great stuff. Michelle recommended Larissa Munch, saying that she's also her daughter, so she gets her vote every time. Here's a cool transition TikTok posted by Larissa. Lastly, here's Julia's favorite TikToker, Atikamekw creator Catherine Boivin. Here's one she posted, when you're late to the grand entry. Thank you to everyone that took the time to share their favorite TikTokers. Don't forget to check out the APTN News TikTok page for some awesome content. And if you wanted to share your favorite Indigenous TikTokers, here's how. Send an email to infocus@aptn.ca, like us on Facebook on our APTN News page, or follow and tweet us at APTN InFocus.
Certainly some great videos there. Thanks for that, Jesse. We have to step aside one final time, but still ahead, we'll chat with a 3-time world champion hoop dancer. Welcome back. Our next guest is Dallas Arcand. He's a multi-talented artist from the Alexander Plains Cree Nation near Edmonton, and Arcand is a 3-time world champion hoop dancer, a motivational speaker, storyteller, and a musician. Here's a quick video of some of his work.
Myself, talking to them.
D-E-F-G-H, I love you still, and you know I always will. Till the end of time, I won't change my mind. Love you, I'll be here, I will never
Dallas, thanks so much for joining us. Our show today is all about social media and TikTok and all kinds of things. So My first question to you is how and when did you sort of make the decision to say, you know, I'm going to do more stuff on social media and TikTok?
Yeah, when the pandemic hit, I had nothing better to do, I guess, at the time. And I'm kind of from the old school, I guess. I was an influencer before there was such a thing as influencers. So I've been doing this for 30 years. I started way back in the 90s, way before there was internet or Facebook or anything like that. So I'm an old school kind of influencer. I've been doing this a very, very long time. I think I might have influenced the influencers, if that makes any sense.
And you do everything from dancing, and you produce music, and you're also a motivational speaker. How do you do it all, really?
Well, it's all just part of, it just kind of all meshes together. It just complements each other, you know, because over the years I've developed my skills as a speaker. I wasn't always a good speaker. I was very shy as a youth. Like a lot of our youth are pretty shy to speak, and I basically just built up my skills over the years and taught myself how to be a good speaker and a good spokesperson, a good ambassador, I guess, if you will.
And now you have a pretty big presence on social media throughout, you know, a number of the apps and what have you. So tell us a bit about what you do when you aren't performing and maybe when you aren't posting these videos.
Well, a lot of time I'm training and doing other things that I need to do. Right now I'm working on, I've got this new mindset called the millionaire mindset. And I've been developing this for quite some time because I'm trying to put together a program right now to influence more Indigenous people to be financially literate, because not enough of our people are taught those things, you know, and our people have the potential to be investors, to be real estate owners, but it's just a matter of making the right moves and the right decisions in your life. So that's kind of my new mission and purpose in life.
That's super interesting to us. I had no idea, and I'm sure our audience is going to be super interested in hearing that as well. So just back a little bit to some of the social media stuff. What can people expect when they watch your content online?
I do things like powwow dance aerobics, so I not only focus on the millionaire thing, but I've also done powwow dance aerobics, and that's to encourage people to be healthy and have a, you know, no matter what you're going through in life, to take care of yourself, you know, whether you have problems in your life, stress or, you know, addictions, whatever, as long as you're taking care of yourself, you give yourself a chance to live another day, to live that much more healthier. So that's what a lot of my content is, besides sharing my hoop dance videos and the music videos I've done in the past. You know, it's all good. I put the best intentions out there on my platforms, and that's all I could do is just get creative, have fun, and that's all there is to it.
Okay, and what is powwow aerobics? I'm so curious.
Powwow dance aerobics is basically just taking powwow dancing and combining fitness and kind of putting it together in a program. And I put it together in such a way that it kind of mimicked those you know, those 80s morning workout programs. Those, I don't know if they're still around, but I remember back in the 80s when I was watching TV, I'd always see every morning, I would see these guys in real tight yoga pants just doing these workouts, you know, these body fit workouts. So I thought, why don't I indigenize something like that and make it part of that as well, you know, and that's what I see happening with a lot of influencers these days. And I've recently joined a production called Bear Grease, so that's kind of same thing, right? It's kind of a parody of something. So, you know, and taking something that already works and making it indigenized. So that's how we're indigenizing spaces as influencers out there.
That's actually really cool. I'll have to maybe hit you up and try see what some of that is all about. But what are some of the highlights maybe of some of the things that you've done over the years, whether it be in the social media era or maybe even before, like you were saying, you've been doing this for so long. What are some of the highlights that stick out for you?
I became a world champion hoop dancer back in the mid 2000s, and that was a big highlight for me in my career. So I won the world championships for hoop dancing 3 times, and that was a big stretch for me. And I remember thinking back then, that was when people were saying that, oh, someday he's going to be the world champion. So I always kind of felt uncomfortable with that idea in my mind that I had an obligation to fulfill. But I guess that just made me focus more, and that's kind of what I'm talking about with the millionaire mindset too. You know, like if you set your mind to something, even if it makes you feel uncomfortable, just keep on pushing forward, and you'll eventually get to that destination. You know, it's like Tony Robbins says, right? Where focus goes, energies flow. So that's kind of what I'm doing, and some of the highlights I've done. I've been a part of Calgary Stampede for the past 20 years. I was one of their star performers. I've starred in a record-breaking 8 grandstand shows. No performer has ever been part of 8 grandstand shows. If you don't know the grandstand show, it's the evening show. It's $1 million a night show. And I was part of it for 8 different years, and no other Indigenous performer has been on that show for that long. And I've had some really great opportunities. Like last year, even during the pandemic, the government of Canada decided to ask me to come to Germany with them for the Frankfurt Book Fair. So I got to travel with the Governor General, got to even have dinner with them, and you know, those are some of the things that. It has happened to me ever since starting hoop dancing. I've had a lot of great opportunities over the years in my career, and I'm very grateful for everything that has ever came my way. And I appreciate each and every opportunity, whether it's on a small scale or a large scale. I've always treated those opportunities the best I can possibly do at those times.
And why is it so important to have Indigenous representation throughout social media on all these different sort of platforms and apps? Why is that so important to have?
Well, because our people need that too. Even though we're kind of a small minority of the population, we still count. Our people need to be inspired too, just like how, you know, a lot of times we are inspired. A lot of our people do watch these programs that you know, they're made by non-Indigenous people, but we still watch them. We still consume the content. So I think in a big way, it's nice to have our own channel. Like the United States, they don't really have an APTN, you know, but the good thing about Canada is that we have that. We have our own television network, and I think that speaks volumes. So I think that Indigenous content creators is really important because it's showing the world who we really are, and not just being a stereotype or an encyclopedia reference of the past of what once was. And there's lots of great influencers out there, like J. Roy McCocus. He's online scraping moose hides, and he has like 1 million followers. And he's just doing stuff like that, like sharing the culture and sharing the humor of who we are, and sharing the essence of who we are as Indigenous peoples. So we're not just a stereotype of the past, or you know, the trail of tears of what our ancestors left behind. No, we are here. We are present, we are conscious, we are intelligent, and we are talented, and we have the potential to grow and to be strong and contribute to the world. So that's kind of what I see with it.
And on that same note, Dallas, like, why is it important to give viewers access to lessons or teachings and that sort of thing on traditional things like dancing or hoop dancing and that kind of thing? I mean, a lot of people don't get to see that because they don't, you know, they're not Indigenous or First Nations, but people like you putting it out, why is that so important to sort of teach them some of the traditional things, like some of what you do?
Well, a lot of times, not a lot of communities have the resources to do so. Unfortunately, a lot of our Indigenous people are living in poverty situations, or really unfortunate situations, and that's kind of where I come from and where I grew up. And I remember not having those resources at that time. Like I said, when I started this journey, I didn't have a lot to go off of. I had to basically do it on my own. All I had is the will to do it and the passion to do it. And so what I'm doing as an influencer is giving people that extra push to encourage them that you don't need all these things to do it. And that's part of the story that I share in what I do, is that when I started, I had literally nothing. I was on welfare. I was broke. I was just like any other typical res kid, you know, like I didn't have those resources. So, you know, when life hands you lemons, you have to make lemonade. So that's kind of what the messaging is there. And that's why we share these things, to encourage others to do it. And the next generation is going to be even stronger, you know, because my son, Dallas Arcan Jr., he's out there now doing the things that I did, and he had a head start in life and into doing this. Like, he's a second generation into hoop dancing, and he has a son now, my grandson. So my grandson is actually going to have that much more better of a quality of life, and that's real reconciliation happening from within our communities, and that's what it looks like when it's done right. It's not perfect, but it's done. It's happening, and it's the best way to do it is just to make it happen, whether it's perfect or not.
Well, we certainly wish you the best of luck with everything moving forward, Dallas. We're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much, Miigwech, for taking some time with us and sharing some of what you do. And yeah, thank you, Miigwech.
All right, thank you. Bye.
All right, that's all we have for you this time around on APTN InFocus. Today's episode will be available as a podcast. You can listen and subscribe on aptnnews.ca/podcasts or find us on your favorite player. And if you missed any of our past episodes and you want to catch up, you can find them and more on aptnnews.ca/infocus. I'm Daryl Stranger. For all of us here, thank you so much for joining us, Miigwech, and have a great day.